Two wonderful
crazy.
kids. That's what you
Two
mean.
wonderful kids. Yeah. Wait, this is recording? Yeah, two wonderful kids.
This is going to make great blooper content.
No. You know, it is a little funny that there are some things that we either do talk about on this show or I want to talk about on this show, but like nobody else in my life knows about them yet. And so it feels awkward to want to bring them up because I'm like, shoot, like my parents might hear this for the first time listening to The Bucket instead of me calling them and telling them something.
Wait, your parents listen to The Bucket?
I think so.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think they just have fun. Oh, man.
Oh, I'm so glad we got that. Oh, that's amazing.
Gentlemen.
Oh, he's rocking a new shirt this week, ladies and gentlemen.
I had this last week.
If you're listening to this in an audio-only format, you're missing out because look at this.
Is amazing.
Whoa, are we recording?
How did you? Yeah.
Sweet.
How did she clean that up so that it was just the wording?
I didn't do it.
He just asked Bolt.new to make an app that could take out the background of an SVG.
I didn't even do that. Brilliant. I said, Bolt, what do you think I would need for this kind of company? It's like, oh, you need a way to take backgrounds out. I got you. No worries. Hey, everybody. How we doing?
Oh, man. Behind the scenes, it's just like an army of these developers that are like actually directing this thing.
Did I tell you about that? The Amazon or the Whole Foods fiasco?
Oh,
well, I'll share it with everybody. I think I told, it must have been Simon. But so a couple years ago, and I don't know if they're still doing this or not, but the Whole Foods had this thing where, because it's bought by Amazon, you could just walk into the store, pick up a product and walk away with it, and it's just going to charge your Amazon account. The best MVP ever, because there was no like cameras with AI detecting people. There was a group of like 1,000 people in India literally looking at the video footage and matching up to the right Amazon account and charging.
Oh my God.
I think they're still doing it. I think they are.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That makes me think of the new robotaxi craze that's industry trying to get underway. And yet, ever so often, quite frequently, they have to have a real person remotely control the car to get it out of all of these little situations that the software can't handle. Have you guys seen the funny thing that people have started doing in like San Francisco and a couple of the places where Waymo and some of the other robotaxi companies are operating and they really don't want to be? And all they do is that the cars are programmed to avoid many obstacles, but one of them that's really easy to find is a traffic cone. And so you can literally take a traffic cone, stick it on the hood of the car, and it will not move. It just can't do anything. You brick it, basically, until somebody takes the cone off.
Excellent.
So it's kind of like cow tipping, except just cone plopping. It's really funny.
Cone plopping. Amazing.
So,
did we talk about
that's the start of our show?
Did we talk about the elephant yet? I know I'm late. I'm not even late. What the heck? What did you guys do?
Nah, we
just like
we got going early.
You're so late.
2 minutes early. Anyway,
shocking.
Whatever. Oh, Craig says hi, by the way. Fan of the show.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, Craig. Here.
Hey, Craig.
Says hey. Did we talk about the elephant yet? I assume we didn't.
What's the elephant?
Simon dropped
Which
a
elephant?
bomb this morning on the Twitters. It may be Blue Sky.
I
didn't see. Did you see it?
Yeah, I got it in our show notes.
Are we ready?
Let's do it.
Oh,
let's roll.
Simon,
he's all over.
I think I'm not going to take your thunder, steal your thunder, buddy. Go ahead. Tell us.
I'm pregnant.
It's a girl. We're so excited.
Oh man.
I don't know. I mean, I ate a lot of sausage, so I don't think it is a girl, but
that's a different problem.
Way to take an awesome announcement and just right on his head.
I ate all this.
So That's how we do it. Welcome to episode 8 of The Bucket. Okay, for real, Simon. Let everybody know what you didn't even like tell. I didn't know. I don't know if Shane knew, but I did see it this morning. Let's hear it.
No, I was keeping it for content. I've got to keep it for content. Now that we're on the show.
Now is the time. Cat's out of the bag.
So immediately after Laracon US this year, pretty much immediately, like I don't think I even got home, I put in a talk, what do you call it, application for Laracon EU, which is happening in February next year. And I heard back like 2 weeks ago. Kaneko reached out to me. He just said, "Hey, can I, have your Telegram and stuff, message you?" And then it turned out I was like, "Yeah, sure. What do you need?" I completely forgot that he looks after Laracon EU and that I put a talk in. and then he messaged me on Telegram and he was like, "Yeah, we really like your talk suggestion. Will you come and still speak for us next year?" And I was like, holy, fell on the floor, Yeah. So I was like, hell yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. I've wanted to do that for ages. And I think I actually have something really interesting to talk about as well. So
yeah.
Yeah. So
let the audience
wheels
know what
are
the
in
topic
motion.
Is.
Well, the official title as of right now is building mobile apps with native PHP and Tauri.
Whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute, Simon. That's a bigger bomb than you speak in here. Building mobile apps with native PHP.
Is this one of those situations where the talk is going to force you to make all of these other puzzle pieces fall into place? Yes. Okay.
That's why I put the talk in. I was like, I'm gonna put this in because it's gonna, like, if it happens, if they come back to me in like, a week from now or 2 weeks from now, it's gonna light a fire under my ass and I'm gonna get this thing done, and I've got like 6 months to do it, so it's great. No,
yeah,
4 months go by and then they come to me. It's
yeah.
like, right, I haven't done any of that. So I've got 2 months to like. So it's not a fire now; it's a raging inferno that's under my butt. But yeah, so start of
That's
February,
sick.
Amsterdam, baby,
Eat
be
those
there.
sausages.
Hell yeah! Well, congratulations, congratulations.
That's prep. That is, Shane. Just
get ready for it.
Yeah, come on, you Dutch, show me what you've got.
Careful there.
In a good way. In a good way.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We still need to be friends after this kind of way. So yes, congratulations, Simon.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Do you have any idea how much work you have ahead of yourself to get all the, like, how many vampire nights do you have? You got 60 days.
Oh,
right?
well, I've already done like 3 in the last 2 weeks. So
are you reaching
probably
out?
a lot more?
Are you asking people for any assistance on this, or are you just manning it?
Yeah. So I wanted to keep it like quiet first of all for a couple of, I didn't know when they were going to actually make the announcement. I didn't ask Kaneko when he was going to tweet about it. And then they posted about Ryan Chandler is giving a talk as well. And I've heard of somebody else who is giving a talk that they haven't announced yet. So there's like a few announcements still to come. And I thought, I'll wait till the announcement's out. I don't want to like be the one to give the game away. Not that it's anything. I mean, it's special. It's special to me, but I don't, maybe other people don't see it that way. I thought it would be like a nice big moment to just have that announcement from them officially be the main one. So I haven't talked to too many people. There's 1 or 2 very close people who know. My wife, obviously, she found out immediately when I screamed.
Yes.
Oh God, here we go.
Yeah.
No,
and
she
then-
actually just heard the thump on the floor first. It came running
Yeah,
in.
she
And
came
then
to
as
pick
he
me up.
came too.
What's wrong? What's wrong?
The doctor
It's just her like smacking me in the face. Yeah. And then a couple of other people who I've talked to about potentially giving a talk in the past, they were sort of rooting for me, and so I gave them a little notice that it's happened, and they were like quite happy, I think. And then it was just like, okay, so I'm not going to say anything to anybody else until it actually happens. And now it's happened. Loads of people have kind of come out and said they're happy to provide assistance. So one person in particular who I'm really looking forward to working with, I don't know if it will work out that way just because time zones are a pain, but Mitchell, is it Davis? He gave the talk at AU about React Native and Expo. I don't know if you saw the talk, but it was a really good talk and a very similar topic. So I kind of got in touch with him and just said, hey, man, it would be great if we could swap notes and, other stuff. And it was his first time giving a talk as well at Laracon in AU. So I'm also going to be like, what did you do to calm the nerves and like stop yourself from falling over every 5 seconds?
Yeah. Dude, that's great. I can't wait to record some of your, trial runs with us here before the big day. We won't air them until after Laracon, but we'll have to have them, those assets in place for after the fact,
Yeah.
For a little. Well, man, this is great news. As soon as we got on here, I was talking about how sometimes there are things that I want to discuss or we do discuss, and it feels weird because like my family or whatever, it doesn't even know about it yet. So they're going to hear it for the first time. This is going to be one of those moments. So my love, Alyssa, we're going to Amsterdam February 3rd and 4th.
Dude.
No.
Dude.
Just dropping it. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Come on.
We could actually do that because of the two little kids, but I would love to. We both absolutely love Amsterdam and the Netherlands.
I thought you were serious,
I would love to go back.
I was about to announce it too.
Dude.
So I'm this close.
I mean, if we could swing it, I'd love to. She wants to do a big ski trip, but maybe Amsterdam is what we need
February's
to do
still ski time, and Amsterdam's not that far away from ski towns.
We'll do Laracon and then just head south to the Alps, and we're good to go.
European tour 2025. Yeah, baby.
I'm just not going to say anything, and then I'll know that my wife does listen to the show if she brings this up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Or you know that she doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. Which is the reality, so that's good. She started listening to the first couple episodes, and then she was like, yeah, you guys stopped talking about Disney, so I'm no longer interested. Whatever.
So I've never been to Europe. I would love to go to Europe.
Dude,
I don't know if it makes sense to go for 4 nights or something, especially if 2 of those are kind of traveling anyway. But I was looking at tickets. And I use Orbitz for everything. I don't know if that's not the best way to look for travel packages and stuff, but that's what I've been using for years. So I just did a quick search this morning when I saw that. Looking for Victoria and I to go, $1,800 round trip with a hotel for 4 nights. To me, that's a great rate. Then I look at the ticket for Laracon, it's $1,000, and I'm like, wait a minute, how is it?
Yep.
First of all, is it generally that kind of inexpensive? Because I looked at going to Portugal a couple years ago for Laracon EU, and it was like $1,000 or $1,100 for a week in Portugal with the flights round trip too. So, is it generally this? I know I look like a noob, I guess, but an untraveled. I just haven't been to Europe, so I haven't looked at these things, and I didn't get a passport till this year. So, I mean, I had one when I was younger, but. Separate subject.
Portugal is still relatively cheap in Europe compared to some of the main parts of Europe.
Like Amsterdam.
Amsterdam's expensive.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What did I see? Well, I'm going to pull this up. You guys keep talking.
I mean, it depends where you go in a city as well, because if you're going to go to the areas that are like the touristy areas, or you could, where there's like venues like this that there's going to be a conference on, yeah, it's going to be a bit more expensive probably. My understanding is that the venue that they use, which they used this year, is the same one, is quite expensive because it's like a heritage venue or something. It's like a really, really nice place. So,
do you know what hotel you're staying at?
No, not yet.
And you wouldn't.
I mean, they have got a hotel, but they've got a hotel that they're kind of booking for speakers, I think. But
and I mean, and it's in like the prime area of Amsterdam. I mean, it's like
it really
just
is.
north of the whatever they call the centrum area.
So, all right,
and it's not even like on like an outskirts somewhere. So.
I just pulled this up.
But
I did it for a week, February 1st to February 8th, Charlotte to Amsterdam. Yep. 1 room, 2 travelers. So for 2 people, the first one, it's not even the cheapest one. The first one, it's $12.85 a person. That's flight and the stay. To me, that doesn't sound expensive at all. Like it cost me like, I think $800. It's like
you're a very rich man.
Well, no, America is very expensive, I guess. Like, because like going to Dallas this year, it was like $200 a night for just a crap hotel, and it was three or 4 nights, right? So there's $600, $700, $800 just for that, plus $400 or $500 for the ticket. That's just to Dallas, right? So I'm thinking it's got to be, to Europe and back, it's going to be way more. But there's, I mean, down to like $950 a person, $1,898, $1,900. That includes the flight and the stay. Now, if they're going to add bags and all the, they get you with all the nickel and diamond stuff. But
yeah, there's also the, it's not really a hotel room when you get there. It's just a box on a bench.
It's a hostel, yeah.
So what? I mean, I'm sleeping in Amsterdam, right? Like, I'm a tourist. What do I care? It's my first time.
What could go wrong? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure it's great. I've never been to Amsterdam. I've never been to the Netherlands, so I'm
never
really
been
looking
to Amsterdam. All right, I'm gonna drop the second big banger here. So
it's full of them.
Parents and rest of my family, I'm really sorry if you hear this, but like Alyssa and I are seriously looking into how we can move to Europe. And Amsterdam is very high up on the list.
No.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
No.
Yeah, no time soon. I'm not going to do it with dogs. And so we've still got, a few years. I'm not going to try to get 2 huskies overseas and live with them in a European city. It's just not the way I want to do it. But I don't know, man. Now that we've been to Europe a few times, I just really, really like the lifestyle over there. And particularly the way the Dutch do lifestyle.
So I was going to ask, like, what all went into the thoughts of moving your life to there, though?
Oh my gosh, guys, we'll have to like have a whole episode dedicated to that because it's a lot. It's a lot. But I mean, like, I guess at the end of the day, I just, as I have gotten a little bit older, and now with kids and the family, I just sort of like see the direction the United States is continuing to go and the type of lifestyle that it encourages and the reliance on cars and the way that the cities are structured and public transit is not really a thing and all of this type of stuff. And I don't know, whenever we have visited over there and know some people that have moved there, I just feel like it might not be the ultimate thing. I don't know if we will stay there for perpetuity, but I think we are interested in it enough that I will be regretful if we don't try at some point. So
interesting.
But yeah, I mean, there's a ton of considerations, and but yeah, the Netherlands is really pretty high up on the list. They're very kind of open, accepting to the right type of foreigner coming in and living in the country. And like Switzerland is high on the list, but it's like stupid expensive. But if we could swing that too, and stuff like that. So, anyways, I don't want to like derail this particular conversation and Simon speaking and Laracon and
we've done the speaking thing. Let's move to the next thing. But
well, I will just
think
conclude.
You should just to say,
go ahead.
You should, or everyone should try and live in another country. You don't have to live in another country where they speak a completely different language, but I think that's also a good thing. But you should just live in another country. Like, there's nothing like being completely out of your comfort zone and known safe areas, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And just going, okay, I've got to figure this out, even if I only do it for a year or 2 years or something, and I move home again or I move somewhere else after that. It just like you get a bit of a bug. Like as soon as we moved here, I was like, oh man, let's go and do this. Let's go somewhere else. It's like, let's be nomads. We've been here a while now, but it's just like, it's such a good thing. If you can make the room for it and you can afford to do it, then do it, man. Yeah. Just do it.
Yeah. Yep. But overall, Shane, man, dude, if you can swing it and getting Laracon in there so you can easily even write off part of the expense, dude, make a vacation out of it, because
I'm looking. I'm looking at the return flight right now. So I've already got the hotel and
I've booked it.
I will say, Shane, if you have a tiny bit of extra money to spend on such a trip, don't. I guess everybody's a little different, but at least for myself and Alyssa, we try to go really budget on our flights, and it was a horrendous experience. Absolutely horrible. And the flight that we had to do to come home from Europe was Amsterdam to Dallas, which is 10.5 hours. It's a long time to be on a plane. It's not the longest flight out there, but it's still a long ass time to be in a chair. And it was one of the most agonizing 10 hours of my life. So just like, if I can say one thing, if you're looking at like $300 plane tickets, just, it might come at a different type of cost, if you know what I mean.
So
you could always fly your own plane over though, right?
Dude, totally. Legally. Yeah.
In the dead of winter over the Arctic Circle.
Yep.
What could go wrong?
It'd be like probably pitch black the whole way. No fuel available.
So, but looking at the price jump here, like there's like all of these. So like the first, I'm looking right now, the flights coming back. There's like, all right, do you want a 4.5 hour stop in Toronto, 2-3 hour in Newark, or all these different things? And there's like, usually it's like, all right, so the first one is plus $0 round trip per traveler. The next one is plus $4.45 round trip per traveler. And there's like 20 of them that are like adding $5. So not a big deal. $9.
The 45 cents breaks it for me.
Right.
Nope.
that's too much. And then it goes to $25. All right. What do I get for $25? $50 then total, right? Then it jumps from $25.65 extra per traveler round trip to plus $837 per traveler round trip.
That's when you get to sit in the cabin, not with the baggage.
Oh, I like the baggage. I can rifle through everybody else's stuff. That sounds way more fun.
So what's the total price of that plus 800 one? What are we at now?
Oh, if I added $800 more per traveler?
Mm-hmm. Is that like $4,000? 3,500? Where are you?
Pulling it up. Yeah, 40, 43, 42, 45, and 72 cents plus Laracon. Tickets.
I mean, that sounds normal to me.
But that was only the flight coming back. So if I wanted to add another $1,600 on the flight there to have to sit with the humans, then
Say what the-
I would have to do that. So
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine just like rough ballparking, you're probably looking at $1,000 per person for plane, and then I would probably budget another grand for like accommodations, and then a little bit of fun
Yep.
spending money because you're in Europe,
That's-
right? I mean, like, and Amsterdam.
and that's what I was thinking
So-
going into it. And then I see this. They got me with that low price, the $1,800 total round trip for a week in Amsterdam. Can happen. I mean, how much nicer is the chair? Really?
Oh man, okay, so like our experience was so horrible because we had gotten, I think our tickets were like $800 or $900. She's gonna laugh if she listens to this because this is probably completely backwards, but regardless, I think it was less than $1,000. I can't remember if that was per person or for both of us round trip, but going over was totally okay. We flew into Simon, what's the airport just southwest of Heathrow in London? Is it Gatwick? Something like that.
Yeah.
And then we had to get on a bus, transfer to London, right? So go through customs in Gatwick, which was
so
awful. Missed the bus we were scheduled for. Had to then scramble to get onto the next one. Getting into Heathrow, had to go like back in through the baggage stuff. Like, oh, good. And then we finally make it into Switzerland. But even that was okay. We went over on British Airways. Great experience. Plane was almost empty. Got to lay down on an entire row. It was a red eye. Great. But then coming home, we were on, it felt like a 1932 Boeing 767. I know that's not really a thing. It didn't come out that early. But it felt like I was in that archaic of a machine. It still had the like CRT televisions every 8 rows. The air conditioning was like all over the place, right? So it was either 100 degrees in the cabin or it was 50 degrees in the cabin. And like the food and the service and stuff was like not great. The seats like
Just one
barely reclined at all.
worn out flight attendant.
Yeah.
Yep. What do you want?
If you were like, asleep or something and it was your turn to they just like would walk right by. And but I mean, whatever. Okay. So like, forget that. But yeah, it was rough. It was rough. And after then going back to Europe through Rome, it was during COVID. So we were able to get first class tickets for extremely cheap. It has officially ruined me. The ability to, not that I'm saying this is what you should do, but the difference in being like refreshed when you get to your destination, right? And not feeling super groggy. It makes a really big difference. Sure. And if anything, coming home, if you don't have something you have to do as soon as you arrive, then like, okay, I guess you can recover in the comfort of your home a little bit. But yeah. Anyway, you should totally go. Highly recommend. I'm excited that Simon's also going to get to experience that for the first time. But I mean, I don't know, because where did you live before you moved to the Canaries?
London.
Were you were in proper London or like outside of it?
No, probably like right in the middle.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, so you still, you aren't some rural chap that grew up on
I used to be. Good. But yeah, not anymore.
But like, I mean, you get like, the walkability and lots of cool dining and entertainment, history. Like you're totally familiar with that. Like Charlotte is the exact antithesis of that. So it'll be really cool, I think, for Shane, if you do make it.
Well, stay tuned, folks. I will keep you posted.
Yeah,
I will.
Simon, you got any other big updates or?
I was just gonna like maybe we could do something to get you a ticket. Who knows? Like, there's things I haven't explored yet, but
yeah, Shane, all you have to do is give a talk, and then your ticket's comped.
I talk anyway. It's crazy. We haven't discussed this yet. I don't know if I talked to you guys about it. So I have this crazy. So I was in a metal band for 6 years in New York. I was a singer screamer.
Oh,
yeah. We opened for some
What?
really big
No.
bands. I don't know if you've heard of Mudvayne.
Do you what? Did you ever like rip any animals apart or pretend to?
They were already dead. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Where did this just
Or-
take a turn?
The
Wow.
dark side. The
A
dark
metal
side.
band,
Um,
the screamy singer biting bats' heads off.
the
Oh, the Hampire's coming out.
That's why we get along so well, Simon. I have this crazy, so like it's I don't whatever. I did really well in the band. We were number one, and we did Battle of the Bands all over New York State. We 15,000 person show a couple times, and I was the front man.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was the screamer. I was the one getting the party going. I cannot talk in front of people to save my life. And it's like, what I don't understand. And I've over the years, I've explored different like reasons why I think and whatever. Like why then was I okay in the band? No problem, right? We practiced for like 2 years, 6 days a week, 8 hours a day before. So I knew every note, every part of the show before it was going to happen. So I had a full confidence, and I think that's what it was. To go from like, all right, so if I just need to practice a talk, right, a few times or several times, maybe I do it for 6 months, practice the same talk over and over for different audiences and stuff, maybe then. But to go like straight to, and I've considered like submitting for, I think I did a couple years ago, submitted an idea for a talk to, which is the dumbest thing, because it was like my title was like imposter syndrome and like how to like what talking poorly in front of large audiences. Like that's the worst thing to talk about if you can't talk well to audiences. Anyway, thank you for rejecting that, Taylor.
I'm walking proof. Here we go.
Don't do it. This is why. So like I even just like thinking about it now, I'm like, just I don't know. It's something I want to overcome.
You're making me nervous, man. You're making me nervous.
No, you're fine. Like, well, and that's the worst thing. Like everybody I told this to, they're like, you're fine. You're look at your personality. And it's like, it has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with it. So I can't tell you, I could not sit here and be not a hypocrite if I was like, you'll be fine, Simon. I don't know that you'll be fine. You know if you'll be fine. So it's all.
I know that I won't be.
Then I do want to be there to watch that. I absolutely gotta go.
Somebody said to me on Twitter, break a leg, and I was like, yeah, I've never broken any bones, ever. Not that I'm aware of.
Time like the present.
And I was like, it's the first time for everything. I went to, we were going to go see the Foo Fighters a few years ago. They were supposed to come to London. And like the week before, I think they were in Stockholm or something, and Dave Grohl broke his leg because he fell off the stage, and they had to cancel our show. And I think
I remember that.
I was like, that could happen. I could just like get so excited on stage that I fall off and like snap my leg in half,
like Dave Grohl.
Sorry, everyone. I can't finish my talk about native PHP. My leg is fallen off.
Mobile apps from Laravel, 25.
Oh, man.
I don't speak like that.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting segue, though, guys. I since we started doing this show, and I get to unfortunately listen to myself in the editing portion, the post production part of these shows. I have made serious considerations to joining a public speaking improvement. It's like a course, but it's not really a course. It's called Ultra Speaking, and
sounds painful.
Yeah, maybe we should just all do it together, because Simon actually needs it. I mean, whatever. Nobody listens to our show really, so I mean, I could make a fool of myself here. It's not that big of a
totally
deal.
Comfortable.
Yeah, he's gonna have 800 people listening to him intensely. So,
oh man.
Speaking of comfort, do you think we're at the stage in our lives with our audience or lack thereof that I could go grab a coffee and disappear for a minute?
Do it.
100%. Yeah, Simon and I were already talking without you before you came into the studio, so whatever.
We don't need you. You can't even hear us anymore.
I know.
So on the topic of talking, right, I have given talks before, and technical talks, not just like I happened to stumble across a video that somebody had done of a talk that I gave probably about 12 years ago, 13 years ago, at a meetup group in Birmingham, where I used to live in the UK.
Okay.
And oh my gosh, it's so cringe. It was one of those like 10-minute speed talks, and I clearly had never done one of them before. And it was terrible. I like loosely the content was okay, but I was so nervous. I ended up repeating myself lots of times and saying completely useless things. And it was just so, looking back at it now, I'm like, I know that I didn't prepare. Obviously, I know that I didn't prepare because I was me. I was me then, and I'm me now, turns out. But, like I could tell I didn't prepare at all.
Right.
I had some slides and I had some basic script, and that was it. And I think it's going to be very, very different now. I've done some other meetups. There was Laravel London, not Laravel Live UK, but the actual like smaller meetup group, which I spoke at a couple of times. And yeah, I think basically getting in front of people isn't the problem. It's like that. I don't mind. Wow.
And he's back, ladies and gentlemen. The screamer has returned.
Why isn't your coffee in a bucket? It's not very on brand, I gotta say.
So, I actually do have a bucket mug. However, I promised Victoria I would not display it. She's working on different. I told you she's still experimenting with it.
Oh, right.
It's partly faded a little bit. But since then, that was like last weekend. She brought that. Yesterday she made a couple other ones that turned out perfect, but she's 45 minutes away. So this comes with a story that I'll save for another time. What were you guys talking about?
Public speaking.
Oh.
Well, yeah, so I was just giving a little bit of insight because I've done some in the past, but it's never been to an audience of this size. So, and I'm guessing. I mean, you said 800, Stephen. I don't know how many it actually is, but it's going to be somewhere in that region,
said
right?
1,000, I think.
Okay.
Oh,
I was
great.
saying 700 plus
Thanks for that.
Oh, it's 1,800. I'm looking now.
There could be millions watching the streams. You don't know.
All eyes on Simon.
For 20 minutes. It's, I don't know.
Is that your slot
that
time?
element...
I 20 minutes?
No, okay. I don't know anything about that yet. But no, I don't. That element of it actually doesn't freak me out. I think the worst part of it for me has always been, especially with technical talks, getting in front of an audience of people who, in my head, they're all way smarter than me, you know? And it's like, they're looking at my slides, they're looking at my face, they're looking at me like mumbling over my notes, and they're going, we know this already, mate. Get on with it. Come on. We've got jobs to do, and, we already know this. And it's taken me quite a few times to sort of get over that. I don't think I'm really fully over it, but I'm realizing it more and more. And I think especially in the Laravel community, what I've seen from attending only 3 Laracons that I've been to is that, and some other meetups, is that the Laravel community actually just really wants people to succeed. Generally speaking, the audience is rooting for the people on stage. And that's such a different feeling than I've had from other groups, where it really has felt like, if you kind of slip up and make a mistake, everybody sort of, oh God, he made a mistake. Or isn't that stupid what he said, that thing that, everybody knows is not that way.
It'll just be Shane in the audience doing that. So it's okay.
You be there and just be laughing out loud at my mistakes.
I'll start the slow clap for you.
No.
Yeah.
But
I totally understand.
You have to kind of get past that bit. I think that's the worst part. And I think if you've got the material is the other thing, right? What are you actually going to talk about for 10, 20, 30 minutes. And I've always found like time goes by so rapidly once you're up there and you start talking. And so who was I talking to? Mateus, I'm going to try and pronounce his name, Guimarães, who is from Brazil. He gave a talk at Laracon US this year. Very good talk. He ended up staying at a very dodgy place in Miami near the airport where I was also staying. So we were like 2 doors away from each other. And we said, let's meet up. And it ended up just being the two of us sat in my dodgy hotel room or Airbnb, whatever it was, him delivering his talk to me, which was like great. And one of the things I was talking about with him is, you know, how you have to really work so hard to bring the content down, because lots of people, the first thing that they do is just create loads and loads of slides. You know, it's like, or effectively slides, whatever that it is, you know, screens of stuff that you're going to show to people. And it's just way too much. And when you're presenting to an audience, they really only have enough time to like read a few things on the screen and listen to you. You know, like they're trying to do those two things and more. But, you know, if people are paying attention, they're listening to you, they're reading what's on the screen, and then they're trying to piece all of that together and make sense of it in some sort of flow. So it's got to flow. And it's a bit of an art, but when you see people who do it really well, you'll notice something. They don't have tons of content on the screen.
Yeah.
There's very, very little. It might be one sentence, and it's not slides filled with text, you know? Very,
they
very
say
rarely.
more by speaking less.
Yeah, and they don't speak as much. They're not trying to race through like an hour's worth of normal length, like normal speed speaking in 30 minutes. They're just talking. They've chosen their words carefully. And that's when you know, like, they've prepared really well, because they say things, they might ad-lib a little bit, and they're not coming across as like robotic because they're not just reading a script, but they're not filling every moment with words.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's definitely that sweet spot, right? You can go in totally unprepared, and then you're just mumbling, rambling, kind of very lost for thought. Then you can be way too rehearsed, and you have memorized every word you want to say. And probably 2 things will happen. One, you'll get onto that stage, you'll hit fight or flight, and everything just goes straight out of the mind. And then you're like, well, I'm done. I can't remember anything I was going to say.
Exactly.
Or you do come off sounding extremely robotic. And it's like, okay, it's obvious. Yeah, this is 10,000 words that this person just memorized, and now they're regurgitating them to me. So, dude, we should, you know, I think I want to do this public speaking thing because I don't like the way I talk that much. I think there's a lot of room for
improvement. You're fine, honestly, but
you don't know.
You know, if you've got to do these things to like boost your confidence.
How do you know? That's the question.
You don't know. So I know a lot of the tactics to better public speaking. And I know up here in my mind what I should be doing to portray the, you know, speaking confidence and persona that I want to project. The problem is that I don't do it often enough or in enough of a high pressure situation for it to happen naturally. I have to sit here and constantly be thinking about what I want to say very intensely before it comes out of my mouth. I don't really hit this state of flow where it's supernatural. And one of the things the Ultra Speaking, the guys behind it in particular, have as a little slogan, they had it on a shirt I saw that I absolutely love. It's speak before you think. And that is exactly my problem, right? I am fluent in English. When I was learning Spanish in school, I had to think of what I wanted to say in English, translate each word or phrase into Spanish, then try to pump that out of my vocal cords. Horrible experience. Terrible
Yeah,
at it.
it's really hard.
Whenever I get into a public speaking format with my natural language, I end up doing the same thing. I go from this very natural, instinctual, subconscious speaking to this analytical. I'm thinking about every word that's going to be coming out of my mouth. I'm literally doing it right now as I'm trying to say this. And I just want to get better at that. And so, yeah, these guys, I have watched a little bit of stuff of what they do, how their course works. It's actually a cohort. So you kind of join it with another group of people. And instead of them teaching you the tactics are fairly limited, easy to understand and to remember. The difficulty is putting them into practice so that they become the tactics that you should be doing become the thing your brain automatically does without you having to think about it. And to get there, just like what Shane was saying earlier about his musical performances, it takes repetition. It takes putting your brain into the state where it has to do it, and very slowly and over time, it gets better and better and better at doing it. But this isn't just specifically for regular conversational public speaking, like what we're doing right now on this show. A lot of it is providing the foundation for delivering great talks. So you might actually get a lot of benefit out of it, Simon. And I'll share something with you, but one of the things they push really hard because they feel like it's just a wonderful thing that they have kind of created from their years of teaching and getting good at public speaking themselves is this thing called the Accordion Method for giving a talk. And the 30-second elevator pitch here is that you have the basis of the talk that you're going to give, right? The topic. I would have you give your talk as you currently see it in like a 10 to 20 minute format where you just try to talk for that long about your topic. Then we cut that time in half. 10 minutes become 5. And you have to try to deliver your key talking points within 5 minutes. Then we do it in 2 minutes. Then you have to do it in 1 minute. And then finally, you have to try to get across the most important parts of what you want your audience to walk away with in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You do that again. And then once you have nailed that down, you expand that out to 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And you have kind of created this framework and outline that is rooted in the most important part of what you want to deliver to your audience, but you have extrapolated it out to your full talking slot. And I think the really important consequence of doing it in that way, as they describe, is that you don't have to memorize anything. You have developed this way of being grounded in the main points, but you can sort of naturally expand upon them in a non word for word rehearsed way and deliver a fantastic speech. Yeah. So you can ad lib, but in a really confident, clear, convincing way.
So it's exactly, I mean, I'm going to liken it to what I was saying before. I think you're exactly right. And that method seems like a very practical way of achieving the result of kind of what I was talking about, which is don't have too much to say, which is also to say, have your like goals or ideally one main goal really clear. Like, and the goal should be like, I am trying to convey this one thought to the audience. Whatever that is, that's the root of the entire talk. And if you like, what I've always been taught is like, think about the audience, think about what they want and need from this. So your focus is kind of on them rather than on you and your voice. And, you know, obviously those things matter, but they're secondary. You focus on the audience, you focus on that one theme, that topic. And as long as you've done the necessary behind the scenes work to like flesh out the material, you've got it in your head and you can sort of calm your nerves so that you can get your words out in the right order on the day, then that's basically you're good to go. And I think people who have got to that stage, you can see, even though they're probably, knees are knocking and they're still really nervous before they get out in front of everyone, the confidence that they have on the stage when, say, they make a mistake or things go wrong or they realize that they've skipped a slide or whatever, they're calm and they deal with it really, really well. And it comes because they're kind of, the self-awareness is there without it kind of tripping them up. And it's a really it's a beautiful thing to see, actually. I love seeing people who speak really well. So I aspire to a lot with this, and I think that makes it worse for me in some ways. But yeah, I've got all of this, like how to do it, and I've got some practice, but yeah, nothing quite sets you for the day until the day itself is upon you.
That's the worst thing to think. Maybe not the worst thing to think, but it just adds that much more when the day, that moment, you are there that second. And like, how many thousands of times are you going to imagine it? And then when you're finally there, it's like the culmination of all of my thought. And then it's like an explosion of anxiety, at least for me. Steven, did you have the same memory I did when Simon said, when things go wrong on stage? Did it pop in your head?
Probably.
Caleb,
are you referring back to Laracon US? And Caleb.
That's exactly what I was thinking of when I was saying it.
Steven and I were right front row, sitting right next to each other, front row, center, dead center, and we're like, I can't believe this is happening for 45 minutes. I wish they would have put that on the top, to be honest. At least an outtake or something. That was so cool.
Yeah, it was a good
that little 30-minute treat that only in-person Laracon attendees get to cherish.
Yep. We don't even need to talk about it. It was awesome. And if you missed it, sorry.
First rule of Laracon Club is we don't talk about Caleb and Aaron.
If you want to see something like that, I guess go watch Simon's talk in February.
Yeah. Somebody yank out his, Ethernet cable or whatever, and they have to try to figure out what went wrong.
So first you were like all for it, super supportive, but now you're trying to sabotage me. I see what this is.
All right, it's okay for me to let you think that. I think that if I make it harder for you, then when it actually comes, it's going to be way easier.
Yeah, it's that whole thing of like running with weights.
Yeah.
So when you take them off, you feel like you're flying.
Yep.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fair enough. Well, we're here as you, work on the topic and start.
I'm definitely going to be drilling you guys with early drafts because, sorry about that in advance.
I love it.
Thanks.
There's a mini thing to talk about. I realized when I was making my coffee. Very small. Next week in the U.S. is
approaching an hour.
Thanksgiving, and I'm not going to be here. And I don't know if we're not recording, right? I'm not going to be around Friday unless I'm remote. I could do that too. That'd be kind of fun. Like on location, in the snow.
Yeah, aren't you going to like Denver or something?
Denver.
Yeah.
I don't mind. Like we can skip like it 1 week doesn't we're what when's this? 8.
Yeah. Episode 8, I think.
So we're on a bit of a roll. It's not like it's episode 2.
Right.
We're skipping episode 2.
I know we're gonna get all that fan mail, like, what the hell, you guys? I wanted to have my turkey and watch you, and
I had Monday ready. Like I was catching up with all the episodes, and then.
And I
can you imagine?
Bullshit. Where were you on episode 1? You were nothing to me. The literal nothing.
It's not true. He loves you.
It's true.
We'll just have to record Monday morning at 6 a.m. so we can still get it out by 9 a.m.
It could happen.
I can do that. It won't be 6 a.m. for me.
I come back Saturday. So, I mean, whatever.
I'm going to have family in the house. So there's going to be 4 kids under 6 or 6 and under. It's probably not going to be a good recording opportunity for me as well. So unless you guys wanted to do something early in the week following Thanksgiving, I'd say we just need a 1 week hiatus.
I'm fine with that. It might have to do something around Christmas, New Year's also too, just to keep that in mind. But you know what?
Yeah.
I mean, We could record 2 in 1 week also.
We could.
It's kind of cool we're talking about this on the show, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Lucky listeners. Lucky one listener. Well done. You've made it this far.
It's only one, but it's Caleb, actually.
He's like, these losers.
Yeah. So, all right. Shane, you got any updates for us on our Miro clone?
No, actually, I came into this meeting early to be like, hey, don't mention it on the show because I've been busting my ass all week working. And I haven't spent any time on it. I've already got...
You're fired.
I don't even know how many hours I'm at right now. I should hit 50 for the week, which is nice.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Well, Carson's home sick today. I picked him up yesterday. He's home sick, and I have to take him to the doctor because in high school in South Carolina, I guess, I'm just seeing your comments here. All right, we'll do. In South Carolina, at least, if you miss 6 days of any one class without a medical excuse, you fail the class, no matter what.
Whoa.
So his 4th period, he's only got 4 periods, whatever, is history. And I've had to take him out a couple times for different scouting events. So I have to take him to the doctor to get a note. And he may be out Monday too. I'm not sure yet. But that means I was going to be out this weekend. Now I'm going to stay home because I don't want to get anybody else sick because we're traveling on Tuesday. Right. So I'm here all day Saturday and all day Sunday as well. So I should be really, really close to 50 hours, and which helps because I'm going to be out some of next week. And so it'll make up for it. Okay. So no to the Miro board. Yes, I do want to play with it some more. I still was running into that. I went back to it. I did a live stream on YouTube and I got to the same place that I was at. Basically, it was trying to, if I wanted to use Pusher, I needed a back end to authorize each user. And if I wanted to use Socket.io, like I could make just a public room, I think, but it was like, it kept going back and forth with like, hey, you need a private, a way to authorize users. And then it would go back to, it would say, why don't you try socket.io? So I'm like, all right, go ahead, make it socket.io. And then it's like, you have a problem with this. You need something more ephemeral, like Pusher. Why don't you go get some Pusher keys? And I'm like, you bastard, we're in circles here. So not that it can't be done, but it would, I think I need to build it as 2 apps essentially, or drop it into Laravel for this specific type of application. So I did build another one. What was it? I can't remember. It's here.
You just building apps all the time now.
I do like 2 a day. Just little ideas.
Addicted. Yeah. It's so good.
I love it.
The Chronos, I use that every day to actually track my time. Like that's how I'm tracking my time actively now and exporting the PDF. And it's a beautiful thing. It's really, really nice.
You should just wrap that up. Great. Like if it's good for you, like somebody else is going to benefit from that.
It's out there. So I again haven't had much time. So it is deployed to a subdomain, but now when I try to I can't just deploy from Bolt. There's like a Bolt, like there's a separate app. I forget what it's called. Yeah, I haven't touched this since Tuesday. But it's called StackBlitz, which is like a code editor, but also connects to GitHub, so I can push to a repo.
They're the people who built Bolt.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
so
it is. Yeah.
They're trying to shoehorn you into paying for their product.
I don't mind paying for their product. I really don't. I mean, until somebody else makes something else that's just like this but better, then I don't have a problem paying for this. What I'm trying to do is, when I can find some time, maybe I'll do it today, but get it so that I can basically push to the repo and have the auto deploy on Netlify, so that, because like what I have inside of Bolt right now is like way better than what I've got on that domain. So I would like to get this out there. Okay. And then I do want to, like I have for Chronos, I do want to attach it to like an API and build a proper Laravel API endpoint so that we can actually have user data and I think that would be a really nice next step. It also does Next, which I don't have any experience with, but I think you can do a lot of that kind of stuff with Next, right?
What's that stuff you mean in particular?
Storing, like it's better, like a better, what's the word? A better way to store the data in a MySQL database or some sort of database.
I don't know, but you're a Laravel guy.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't try to shoehorn Next into becoming a like full stack framework.
Isn't that what it is though? Isn't that what they try to be?
They're like
Okay.
little things that are trying to move it into that direction. But literally, like I was just thinking as you were talking, Shane, man, Bolt does sound really good for me because I much prefer developing backend stuff. So if you could just get Kronos on the front end running, and then you can tell Bolt, give me all of the like API endpoints with payload and anticipated response that you would need to have persistence here. And I could just like whip that together in Laravel really quickly. And that would be like, oh, that'd be awesome.
So all right. So my dad, he's trying to figure out a way to do this same thing, but with Laravel apps, right? But then this idea just happened, it just occurred to me. Wouldn't it be cool if there was another app that was Laravel, and then I had Bolt, and I had this other app that were Laravel, and the AIs were talking to each other, like Furby. You remember Furby back in the day in the 90s? And they were like, "Oh, I just give them an idea and they were running with it." It cost me $6,000 because they're talking this whole time. But I have
1 million tokens a minute.
But they've already got a marketing department established for me someplace out there, and you know what I mean. They're already putting ads out and getting people, and I'm making $10,000 a month on this app that they just built for me with my idea.
Yeah, cool. There's actually a recent thing I did see. It was like I can't remember if it was a researcher or who. But they essentially did do that. They like let two AIs just talk to each other for a long time, and they recorded all of the speech and like did some analysis to see like what it started talking about.
That's cool.
It was some crazy stuff. I actually have a little bit of a kind of tie in here with AI because this week I've been doing a couple of technical challenges as part of an interview process for a potential job. And one of the things that dawned on me while I was doing them is that immersing yourself at a very superficial level into a brand new, large, existing code base in order to try to do one of these technical challenges makes me feel like an AI. Because the challenges that I was given are very straightforward. Like it's the type of thing that in a couple paragraphs you could prompt into an AI model, and the requirements are clear and concise. But the difficulty is that you're jumping into a 100, 200,000 line code base with a whole bunch of existing components and little pieces of code. Like, and so it's that ultimate problem of context and the lack of like full awareness of everything that already exists.
Yeah.
That makes it really hard to do. And it just made me feel, I was like, God, I feel like ChatGPT right now. We're like, I know what my prompter, my interviewer is asking. And like in a greenfield project, it would be 5 minutes to do. But what's hard is taking the time to try to understand a lot of the existing infrastructure, code infrastructure in place so that your implementation is both compliant, but also utilizing all of the existing stuff so that you kind of stay on point with the rest of the code base. And I don't know, it was just a funny moment where I was just like, this is funny. The table has turned. I am now the AI, and this is what poor ChatGPT feels like whenever you tell it, like, no, you stupid, that's not right, because you didn't know about this other file in my repository. And it's like, oh, I am very sorry, you're correct. And now that's how
You're going to be the slave to the harsh AI.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
this is some twisted Black Mirror episode future
Yeah.
that we're going to be living in.
Stupid Steven, you didn't have to make that view component. We already have it in our repository. So, I don't know. But
Isn't that where like embeddings would come in? Like if you could run all of the code of a code base through the engine that the AI's what the LLM itself proper to turn it into embeddings, right? And then you store all the embeddings in a database somewhere,
right.
and then you essentially query your embeddings with your whatever you would query the LLM with normally. And so you turn your prompt into embeddings, and then you can do whatever the queries look like, crazy math that's required to actually compare embeddings. And then it would give you the response of like the stuff that you're asking for, no? In the results of that query. And then you just got to turn that back into that relates to this file and that function and these things.
Hypothetically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or practically. I mean, I don't really know. Isn't that
Me
sort
neither.
of like what the cursors and, a lot of these new AI tools that are coming, they try to understand your whole code base. I don't know how many, all of these, well, I don't know. That's a particular technical rabbit hole. The other part that I guess you always have to remember is like there is a whole bunch of additional context to good software development that is outside of characters inside of a file. Right? It's knowing sometimes that like, well, my boss or like the CTO, I know would want it to be done this particular way. And you just have that context that, like unless you explicitly tell an AI model and it can kind of understand that, it won't know. Or it might not know like, well, the person that is going to end up using this feature, I know, has this preference over another. And so you just kind of instinctually develop in that direction. Whereas with AI, you'd have to explicitly tell it because it's not going to know that. And you're not going to get that from just reading, 10,000 PHP files. It's just this whole point of like context. Context is absolutely everything.
I think what you've said there actually is like, it could happen. It's not impossible.
Right.
Because you say take the example of what you've said where the CTO, I have to code it this way because that's what the CTO wants, right? If that person has been in that position for a significant amount of time, like that the code base has taken shape around their, wants and desires, then the LLM could not consciously, obviously, pick up on this trend, but it will be a trend in the code. So that effect has been encoded in the code. Right. And whether it intends to or not, if it's using the code as a basis for writing further code,
it'll regress to the mean.
Yeah, it will just inhabit some of that space in the same way.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how some of that stuff plays out. And I think this is where like technology is generally very surprising to us because we go, oh no, that could never happen. Like this is a interpersonal thing. And it turns out that our interpersonal thing is up here, like that LLM stuff that's going on in our brains, like the much more powerful, different, interesting version of that thing that's happening in our squidgy brains is essentially the same.
Right.
It's the same set of tools and they're just operating on different hardware. So I think that's kind of like we've drawn inspiration from the way that everything around us works. Planes are based on birds and loosely that kind of thing. And we've just done the same with LLMs and other AI type things, image recognition and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So in the end, you can see this future where it does get to the place where it really does look like, hey, that is very human-like behavior. I don't know if that's good or bad, but
I can see it too. One day. But yeah, doing these technical challenges, it definitely was one of the first times in a little while that I was just like, it just was a bit of a re-epiphany of how important context is.
Yeah,
Because the requirement was simple. And then I just
definitely.
take a step back and I'm like, man, I'm spending the majority of my time understanding database schema or like working through some existing functions that are updating database state to understand the relationship between multiple columns and how that impacted what I was doing. And it's just all of that type of stuff that, if you want these AI tools to be super beneficial for you, they eventually will need, either explicitly or via inference, an understanding of all of that stuff. And so
Here's a hot
I don't know,
take.
whatever.
I recently had a position, as you know, and they had a whole library of blade components that were specific to their branding. I could look at their branding and match that in my own Tailwind div class equals ... in about 3 minutes. And whenever I did this on the PRs, the comments were, we have UI components for this. Go use one of the ones that we need you to use for this. Took me way longer. So here's the question. What is more beneficial? To match the branding. They even had a site where you could you pull in their repo and you npm run start whatever, and you had everything there and you could see it all. They didn't display the code that you could just copy and paste the code. That would have been nice. That would have made things a little bit faster, I think. I had to find it, then go find the route and find the page and find where it was, and then copy and paste it. To me, I think that's great if it's something like Flux, which is like a huge, like everybody knows this, and this is the way that it's done. And it goes from one company to another company to another company. And maybe there's some additional variants that you put on for your company that, you know what I mean? There's a couple little things that you would add, or if you have like a button, just make the button variant equal to the name of the company and it automatically themes everything for you. That would be nice because you could do it then on every theme. And as long as you know Flux, you just add this variant onto everything and it styles it for that company, right? Or for that branding. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about companies having their own whole libraries of UI components that you have to then go learn or take extra time, where you could, if you've been in Tailwind for as long as we probably all have been, you could just style the button. It's rounded, it's shadow, PX4, PY2, or P whatever, pretty simple stuff here. What do you think?
Yeah. Simon, you go first. I do have thoughts.
Oh man. Okay, so my first consideration is a lot of these things were probably around before the common or popular libraries, right? So these businesses were solving that problem, but they just weren't generalizing the solution. So nobody else knows about it. They've kept it internally. And I'd say the main lesson for me there is, if you're a business and you're tending to do that because you're pushing the boundaries of like what's available generally on the market for your developers to use, and you're bumping into a problem like this where you could come up with a general purpose solution, think about making it open so that other people can get on board with it. Because if you will learn two things from that: either one, it's a really bad solution and bad idea, and you should scrap that and not build it because you're going to spend loads of time building the wrong thing, or it's a really good thing and it's really great for your brand, your business, your team. You end up having really good developers coming and joining you because they want to work on this open source thing that you've been building. Loads of them already know the tools that you built, so they're ready to go when they come on board. It's just like if you're inclined to do something and keep it internal that isn't like tightly part of your business and your IP, and there's no other thing outside that does it, then think about opening it up. Of course, if there is some other thing that's outside that does something similar, you should definitely adopt that. Don't be the not invented here, people. Because, well, as a classic, sorry, I'm going to go on a little bit more, but classic example of this, probably for many people, is that they'll join us, maybe a small company where the CTO or somebody technical on the team has basically built the entire like framework for everything. You know, the database access layer, the view rendering layer, and all of these kind of things. It's like hand rolled by some person who's been programming for like 40 years. And, you know, they're like, this was the quickest solution that I had because I built this over 40 years. It's like, yeah, but if that's not an open source framework with good documentation and has thought about security issues and been battle tested in hundreds and thousands of applications over the last X number of years, we should not use that. Like, it doesn't matter if you built it really quickly. We need to move away from this, because if we're growing a team now, this doesn't work. Like, I can't grow a team with your framework that's got no documentation and is like insecure. It's got all these holes in it that we're just like doomed to failure. Like, it's great if it got you going quickly, but it's time to move on. So I think that whole like, I would push really hard against, you know, if I had the social capital within that organization to do so, to say like, we need to move away from these custom things and start adopting the broadly applicable general purpose tools to achieve the same results.
Yeah. So I think my take, if we are specifically talking about front end components where a brand has put together an internal design system, I think it largely comes down to two major considerations. It's the one, how many times am I truly copying and pasting the exact same thing? And then two, how frequently does that stuff change? Because a lot of times these front-end components are pretty analogous to like back-end code structure, right? It's the difference between functions that are extremely procedural and very rigid in their ability to kind of change or get hooked in with other stuff, versus solid, dry principles. So it's kind of the situation where, to me, what the decision really comes down to is not how quickly can a new developer start contributing positively to our code base within a day or a week. It's how quickly can the entire team move after a month or two, right? There will always be a little bit of pickup time, especially in a really large code base. But the measure of, I think, like really good code, back end or front end, is how quickly can the whole team move in the right direction once everybody is sort of up to speed. And the design system for internal branding is kind of like much the same way, right? If you have a main logo component that is literally used in one location and it never changes, like, okay. But if you have something else that like you probably like the rabbit hole that I think people do sometimes get down into, and I've done this myself, is you do try to componentize too many things where it's like, yeah, I'm kind of copying and pasting this card or this whatever little like widget thing, but I change it a little bit. And so now I'm making this generalized component that ends up having 27 different props to try to handle all of the little subtle tweaks that have to occur, right? Like in this location, they really wanted the shadow to be shadow-SM, but then over here it's shadow-MD. So now I need a prop for that, right? And it's like, yeah, okay, you can really start getting down the rabbit hole of just having way too many components, and each of those are trying to do way too many things, and then you kind of are going backwards. But it's striking that balance. So it is tough to say. Like, you know, if you do go into it and it's the stuff is there, and if you had known about it, could you have literally just imported that existing brand's component and then you're done? And it's an excellent implementation of that dry principle. Or was it one of those situations where it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, you guys had that existing component, but like it didn't exactly meet the requirements of what you wanted me to do. So now I'm either modifying the component to change its functionality slightly to handle this one use of it, or I just kind of have to do one from scratch. That's what this PR includes. So what is it? And yeah, I see this a lot with, like I said, with like an analogous to backend code in particular, where a lot of people kind of default to using very procedural code that gets the job done for the requirement of that exact moment in time, which does have a lot of value. And it's where I would recommend you start. And then after you realize that, I'm copying and pasting this 2, 3, 4 times and modifying something in the middle of this very procedural thing is getting more and more difficult to do. My function is now having to have 3, 4, 5 parameters with Boolean flags and all of these other code smells. Then it's like, okay, time to refactor and break this out into something that can be a little bit.
I agree with that. I think where you've gone with that is like duplication over like the wrong abstraction, which is the a good argument in general. I think you try and avoid complexity in the initial phase of things as you iterate towards understanding the problem better in general. But I think to the specific thing that you're talking about, Shane, it sounds like probably they just didn't have good documentation of the components that were available.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, that's possible.
Like you were saying, they didn't have like code snippets and things. See, I think that's fundamental. If you're gonna go down the route, or you've already gone down the route of building your own like UI framework internally, you've got to take it to the next stage. You've got to now like get it in something like Storybook so that you can have it well documented. And then you've got code snippets. You've got the pros around each of those components. Like, why does this exist? How did it come about? What is it for? When should you use it? When shouldn't you use it? If you can cover those things off in documentation and then let people at the documentation, even if it's not fully like 100% across the entire set of things that you've built over the last X years, it doesn't matter. It's a start. Whereas if you've got nothing, it's like, man, and that's when you're coming in going, I could build this in Tailwind in 5 minutes.
Even if it's well documented, though. And I think that's where I got to. No, really. Like, I think that's what I and I guess, you don't know maybe they hire a really strong backend developer and they're not sure if they're going to be good on the front end. So we made this thing that everybody can, you know what I mean? So I can see both sides of it. I think I just had some, and I've experienced something similar to another story for another time, but where it's like you're doing things specific to the way the company is requiring you to do. I have no problem with that, but my mind always goes to like, is this really the smartest way? Am I actually working with people that are way smarter than me that did this thing that I would have never done this way because they're so smart and I just don't see it? Or is that why I'm here? It, more than not, that's kind of how it turns out. It's like, that's kind of like, oh no, yeah, you need to refactor that for us. If you see a problem, say something, kind of thing. So, not to generalize what we were talking about, the specifics of what we were just saying to another whole topic, but yeah, maybe with better documentation, maybe with even like I'm a visual sort of learner. A video would be nice to show how these things kind of work. It to me, it's a lot faster than I don't even know what they call. Do they call it a card or do they call it a something else? Like, and that was the problem that I was facing. Like, they had all these components. There was 120 something components, and I didn't know what they
Wow.
called things. It wasn't just a simple
Yeah,
card,
see?
right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I do agree with something like a Flux implementation, something that is from company to company, everybody's going to know what these things are and how they work, right? Versus, what kind of is this, a primary button or is it a branded button, or you know what I mean? I don't know. All right, it's in the buttons thing, but I have to scroll through 25 different buttons to find the one that you want me to use
Yep.
when I could have just looked at it and matched it exactly. Or right click and copy the HTML, the class from one that I already just saw. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know.
Can I, like, I feel like this is a related topic, so I'm going to ask it. Right. Was this a B2B or B2C? Was it an application or was it just a website?
It was an application.
Right. So was it B2B or B2C?
See?
Okay. All right. Maybe in that context, the answer will matter more. But
For this particular
if-
part of the site, it was B2C. Yeah.
yeah, okay. What if, like, applications on the web started to behave like applications on operating systems that all basically inherit the same visual style? Like, when you think about how operating systems originally kind of started making it's like a set of tools, right, that make it easy for people to build other tools that allows the user to do stuff. And then as that kind of progressed, in the 80s, 90s, companies like Apple were kind of figuring out what are the user experience is that we want for people, that actually people really are drawn towards, like what makes it easy. And that they figured out that there's a bunch of these little gestures and hints and things that will be good for the user experience. And so they said, well, we're going to be opinionated about this and we're going to standardize that. So every app should do this. And now that's evolved to the point where Apple basically have just guidelines, right? Because they can't lock people into just using their sets of tools and frameworks and UI libraries. But at one point, that's how it was. It was like, these are the only UI elements you've got that you can build your apps with.
Isn't that how browsers worked, though, 20 years ago?
Well, yeah, I mean, before CSS was really properly a thing, and websites, and web applications were kind of clearly differentiated. So I'm trying to just like get to this place where, to your point, Shane, what if like every app did use essentially something like Flux? And maybe it's not exactly Flux everywhere, but kind of looks the same and operates in the same way from an end user point of view, but also the APIs, whatever the actual library is on behind the scenes, is pretty standardized and similar across the different libraries, like ShadCN, Flux, and whatever else. What would happen if that? What would people think? What would people say?
I'm trying to figure out which way you're wanting to go with this. So I think that we'll have boring websites. All right, that's what I think. Like, it's all the same.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to look the same just because it's using the same underlying library. So that'd be my argument to that. Unless you're trying to go the other way with it, then it's like, it would make it so much easier for developers to code everything, and our front end lives would be half lives.
Okay,
guys.
Quick response to that.
Hold on.
Wait. No.
Me first.
Me
first.
No.
Who's got the shirt? Go. Who's got the shirt? I have nothing to say. Go ahead.
Go on.
I was just gonna say we've already had this. It was the bootstrap era.
Yeah. Well, okay. So we won't rehash the whole thing, but
kind of
boring websites, boring websites. Is that a bad thing? You said it like it was a bad thing, is how I interpreted that. Is it a bad thing?
No, that's right. So lack of personalization. Brands are brands because that's why they need to be different from, like, if I go to adidas.com versus nike.com, I would not want it to look the same, right?
This is why I asked about B2B versus B2C and application versus website, because I think there's a really important difference there. If you're doing e-commerce experience and you want it to really resonate with whatever the brand is and adapt to the audience, like your market, you definitely want something there's going to be elements that are like consistent with everything else. That you got to have a buy now button and a shopping cart and, abandoned cart emails and that kind of stuff. But how you dress that up can be completely different. But going to applications, I think we're already seeing the trend of applications are essentially becoming the same. You have this slide away left-hand sidebar, if you're in a left or right. Yeah, exactly. So if the tools basically become the same and the user interface that we've, evolved towards, like all of these designers and product managers have kind of gone, well, no, the users really respond really well when there's the main menu of stuff is on the left and it's collapsible and there's this heading across the top with the account access, details in the top right or in the bottom left. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is that's like becoming consistent behavior, then every tool that everyone uses ends up working in predictable ways. And it's not just like good for devs because like the APIs are the same and predictable and everybody can move from one company to another and just start getting on with work straight away. The users are having a great time of it as well because they're going, I know where everything is. I'm not like playing the game of figuring this new weird user interface out. I'm going, this looks like that other thing, but I know it's this one because it's got this logo in the top left,
The hamburger menu and the little sliding toggle are like exactly what you're describing, right? 15 years ago, if you saw 3 horizontal lines in the corner of an app, you'd be like, what is that?
You know how many clients in like the 2010 would be like, what does that even mean? Make it say menu because nobody knows what that means.
Yeah,
really. You've heard this, right?
Is this like
I don't know how many times I implemented that
icon?
What?
Now it's just ubiquitous. And like, was it Apple that started the toggle trend with iOS?
Probably.
And so we went immediately, like the whole industry went from checkboxes to these little sliding toggles, and now they are kind of the standard. But and to your point, Simon, like you can see that on iOS or web app, and you know exactly what it's going to do.
It'd be cool to be the guy.
You know what the on state is. You know what the off state is.
The guy that created the toggle. Put that on your resume.
It's like
the toggle.
The guy who invented the hashtag, Chris something. I can't remember his last name, but at the time on Twitter, he was like super famous. He's probably still really famous. He's probably like writing memoirs and stuff.
None of us know his name. He's not that famous.
No, but I know. Like I can picture his face. Like just this blonde guy with glasses
or a QR code.
And
right? That's huge.
Yeah. No, I'm not imagining a QR code
no.
as that guy.
And his face, so his.
Yeah. Just scan my face for my business card. Yeah.
It's great. On that note, if you liked any part of the show,
no, we can't finish because like we've got another little bit. I've been reminded of this. So we had, and we said we were going to do it, so we should do it. This comment from YouTube last time, but we had it before last time, and we didn't get time to do it last time, so we should do it this time. And I think it's worth it. It's good topic. So it sounds like you guys are business people and developers at the same time. How did you get to this? Shane, go first.
So, not to drag it on. So before I was a developer, I I had about 10 years experience door-to-door sales. In Florida is where it started. I was in a full suit in Orlando in the middle of June selling coupon cards,
Sweating.
God.
commission only, wife and 3 kids, sole
Whoa.
provider. I had to make it work. So
Please tell me you were selling air conditioners.
no, no,
Because
all
that would
right,
have just
so,
been,
I mean,
freaking, this dude shows up to the door just drenched in sweat.
I'll give you the pitch. It was
Please let me sell
my
you an air
favorite one to sell. So these were coupon cards. They were easy to carry, not heavy,
Okay.
which was nice. But here's the pitch. Here's one of my favorite ones. There was several different campaigns. We did oil changes. We did massages. We did car washes. My favorite one though is, hey Steven. Hi. Nothing
Hey.
serious. Quick question for you. Do you like pizza?
I do like
Okay.
pizza.
Do you know the Papa John's that just opened up down the street?
No, I hate Papa
You
John's.
hate Papa John's. No problem. You, your family might like Papa John's. Someone you know might like it. You look like a business kind of guy. Maybe people at work. All right. So here's the deal. I'll just be real quick. If you don't like this, no problem. I'll go to your neighbors. They're going to buy all of them anyway. Do you think in the next year, you or somebody you know might buy 2 large 1-topping pizzas?
Yes, absolutely, Shane.
There you go. All right.
Please keep
So,
going.
For the price of 2 large 1-topping pizzas, I'm going to give you this coupon card for 2 large 1-topping pizzas, absolutely free, plus 17 times in the next 12 months, you get a buy one get one free of anything on the menu. So
Nice.
$34, which is the price of 2 large 1-topping pizzas. We're going to give you 2 large 1-topping pizzas, plus 17 buy one get one free of anything on the menu. How many do you want?
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why Shane does our outro.
That's it. I did this.
I thought, Stephen, I thought you were going to go into the. Do you remember in the office where Jim and Dwight are doing the sales call in front of?
Which part?
I don't remember. But keep going.
They're like
keep going.
facing each other. I can't remember what. It's like season.
Well, no,
4,
not the number,
whatever.
but which? How many times did? Which one? I love The Office.
Yeah. I
haven't
can't remember
seen
how
The
many
Office.
times they've done the sales call thing. But Jim just goes off on one. He's like, wait, I've got another call. I got to put you on hold.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he's just...
Don't like your.
And then he starts to... And then Michael and Dwight are like, you've got this. You know, like...
You need to
he's
fire
like,
your.
but the boss
I will buy $1 million worth of paper if you fire that salesman. I've got to do it. I've got to do it.
Yes.
Dude, that was one of the best bits. I love it.
Love The Office.
Okay, so Shane, bring us back home. Okay, so
Sorry.
how did you go from door-to-door sales and now
So-
you've got...
I think my mentality was kind of always geared towards sales. When I was even younger than doing the door-to-door sales, I did phone sales, and I was able to generate a pretty good income at early 20s. Blew it all, which was fun. But, I think that seeing that I was capable of making my income not based on the time that I was doing, but by my performance. I think that planted the seed for me to then move on into, like this entrepreneurial mindset, I suppose. So I wanted to get into business. I wanted to look at all the greats of in America, the Walmarts and the Sam's Club. And like these people started with like very kind of humble beginnings. And it's like, I'm a humble beginning kind of guy. I can do this too. And so, doing door-to-door sales, I was borrowing my dad's truck. The head gasket blew, and he's been a developer since 74. I think he started in the Navy in the early 70s, mid 70s. He was like, yep, the head gasket blew. Do you know how to copy and paste? I said, sure, I can copy and paste. He said, I have a project I'm working on, and it's converting this whole code base from C++ to C# for the first like 3 months. It's just they're taking screenshots randomly within 15 minutes. We just need to copy and paste things. I said, I can do this. So at the end of the day, 8-hour shift, he gave me $400. And I was like, is this for the week or what is this? He's like, that's for the day. I was like, are you hiring? And so my dad, and I always say that, big shout out to my dad. He I'm one of the few. I'm maybe the only one I know of, at least, that received their inheritance before their father passed. And I really feel like he gave me 2 years. He gave me a salary to learn how to develop. And he's a .NET, C#, whatever, Microsoft Worlds kind of guy. And
I'm sorry.
no, well, he's learning Laravel now. Actually, he's working on this Laravel AI thing. Right? That's what he's doing. He just sent me a screenshot. But it's like, and I went to like WordPress themes and plugins and stuff. And so when I realized after the 2 years, I could go and find my own clients and I could do the sales stuff, but I was the one directly benefiting from it. That's when it caught on like wildfire for me. That's when I went into how many clients can I get? How much more can I learn about this to make myself more valuable to more people so that I can, grow this business. And that's kind of how I came to be. How about you, Simon?
Nice. I wouldn't say rags to riches, but it's kind of like rags to slightly less bad rags.
To Canary Islands. Not half bad.
But it's like the developer thing was. So I knew that I wanted to get into something IT. So at 16, I finished school. I didn't go to college, university, in the UK. I just went, right, I'm going to go and get a job. I'm confident I can go and get a job because I was already doing stuff with computers for 6 or more years by that point, like building my own, installing stuff, helping other people. So I was like, I know how to use Windows and I reckon I can do this to help people in a company. So I went and got a job as an IT support. At 16, somebody actually gave me a job and was paying me real money to do it. So that got me on the IT track. And I was already like, I want to learn programming. I got into doing stuff on the web. So, I'm not going to rehash that whole story because that's kind of pretty straightforward. But the business side of things was I kind of knew that I didn't want to be in that company doing just IT support. So I left there and I tried straight away to go into freelancing as a web developer, webmaster, whatever. And I got a few clients and I did really bad work and, it was like tough. It was just really, really challenging. I was 19. So,
Wow.
I just didn't know anything at all. And I look back at that now and I'm like, man, I wish I'd just done some more stuff for other people first before trying to do this on my own. But I learned a lot of good lessons from failing horribly. and then I went and got a proper job again. Fortunately, I'd done enough in those like couple of years of doing that abysmal work and learning and everything to convince somebody to give me a job as a developer. So I shifted then from just general IT to specifically software. And then eventually I got to work in a company that was funded, that had a good group of really smart people. And I got exposed to all of the very small but rapid growing business problems. Like, how do you make sure that this thing keeps operating when there's only 30 people, but you've got, millions and millions of dollars coming in? And those are interesting problems, and they're not just technical ones, they're business ones as well. And when you're on a smaller team, you get exposed to a lot more of that. And if you're somewhat confident about speaking up in those environments, sometimes the things that you say can actually make a difference to the stuff that happens. And those differences might be good things. And then people say, oh, you've got a knack for this, or a penchant for it, or whatever. And you might end up with a little bit more responsibility and have to learn some more stuff. But it basically comes down to putting yourself in the environment to learn things and then being open to learning things. Just keep on learning. And I'm still doing that now. I don't think I'm very good at any of the business stuff or the development stuff.
Hey, but
Steven,
you're one hell of a speaker.
Oh, God.
Time will tell. Time will tell.
We'll see in February. He can't do anything. How? Come on, Stephen, tell us what's your path to business?
To specifically answer Tendai's like question. So like how did you get to be business people and devs? For me, it's really simple. My career got going and I found myself similar to what Simon just said. I worked my way and put myself into positions where I sort of became the default person to start running a small business. And so I did business first and then I became a developer. So now I'm a developer that knows a little bit of business stuff. It's that simple. And yeah, I mean, well, and then I got the idea of buying a business. And so, that furthered the situation and then really became I guess you could call a professional developer, purely in the sense of that I guess I make a little bit of money from developing. Isn't that the definition of professional? Because of buying that business. But I mean, yeah, it's that simple for me. Like I kind of just went from, as you guys know, mechanical engineer first. I put myself into a position where I was kind of running a small business and then became a developer. It's as simple as that. So yeah, for me, it was the business side first and then the developer second, rather than being a developer and, working up a corporate ladder or something like that to end up in more of a business responsibility. So
I think just fundamentally, all of those stories sound like, we put ourselves, maybe not always intentionally, but we found ourselves perhaps in situations where we had to learn new skills, or an opportunity to learn new skills presented itself and we took it. And I think that's fundamentally like the best way that any of this sort of stuff happens. Like you then end up in this place really far away from where you started, but you can turn around and kind of go, oh, that was a good journey. That was really interesting. And where I am right now is different and also interesting. Maybe not always good, maybe not always bad, but it's different.
Yeah. Yep. Perhaps in a future episode, we can talk a little bit more about our opinions on if you are a developer that kind of wants to get into the business side of things a little bit more, good strategies to do that. But I think for today, after Simon says whatever he's about to say, we'll probably need to wrap this up. Simon says.
I think what you're saying effectively is being intentional about it and not just following the path that kind of lays out in front of you. I would like to have that discussion as well, because I think that is something that I've actually lacked during my, call it, career. I do feel like I've had one thing, as kind of guiding principle of this is what I want to do, but never really been super intentional about like, how do I get there? So I might have been able to go a little bit faster if I had done that.
Okay. Yeah. And I think we've got some tactics, some simple tactics that we could share that would help.
Right around an hour into this episode, I was like, we're going to do pretty good this week. I think we're at 2 hours,
right?
Like every week. So I guess we did pretty good.
No.
It's not 3 hours.
Right?
No, there's like 20 minutes we got to cut off the start where you weren't here. So it's fine.
Well, we'll see.
I like how a few weeks ago we're literally having this discussion about like, we need to be hour-long episodes, wrapping this up, clear and concise.
Not gonna happen.
Here we are 2 hours into this one.
Yep. Well,
there's just so many good things we talk about.
That's why we have the podcast. That's why we started
Nuggets of wisdom.
That's why we started it. And I think that other people would think the same thing. And if you liked any part of this episode, chances are someone you know might as well. Please go ahead and share, like, subscribe, make us viral. It's really in your hands. You know, we're doing this anyway, but it's up to you. What's that, like the power when your powers combined? I am Captain Planet, Captain Bucket, whatever. But no, really, like, we love Tendai. Thank you for writing in. We really appreciate that. Knowing that there's people out there actually paying attention to us, kind of cool. But we're just hanging out anyway. So you know, we open this up to the world, and the world brings a party. So let's party. On that note, happy Thanksgiving to anyone that celebrates Thanksgiving, and we'll see you guys in December, I suppose.
Something like that.
See ya.
Cheers.
Peace.